quick, because 1 out of 3 of you will turn queer. And if we catch you involved with a homosexual, your parents are going to know about it first. And you will be caught. Don't think you won't be caught.
In the 1960s, America was in the midst of a revolution. The civil rights and women's movements were in full swing as African Americans and women fought for equality and protection from discrimination. A similar movement was occurring at the same time as these, one that drew much more hatred and controversy, the gay rights movement. The LGBT community wanted the same things that African Americans and women were fighting for, but most importantly, overall, they wanted to be able to live and love freely. This movement grew in popularity in the 1960s due to some major events.
In 1958, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the First Amendment rights of the LGBT magazine, One, the homosexual magazine, after the FBI and U.S. Postal Service claimed it contained obscene material. The decision marked the first time in the United States Supreme Court rules in favor of homosexuals. This does not occur again until 2009.
January 1, 1962, the state of Illinois became the first U.S. state to decriminalize homosexuality with the repeal of sodomy laws.
Picketers at Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, staged the first Reminder Day on July 4, 1965, in order to call public attention to the lack of civil rights for the homosexual community. This gathering continued annually until 1970.
The Mattachine Society, America's first national gay rights organization founded in 1950, staged a sip-in at the Julius Bar in Greenwich Village, New York, on April 21, 1966. The New York Liquor Authority had prohibited service to gay patrons in bars. Following the sip-in, the Mattachine Society sued the New York Liquor Authority. No laws were overturned, but the New York City Commission on Human Rights declared that members of the LGBT community have the right to be served.
June 28, 1969 was the day that the gay rights movement catapulted into the limelight. A group of gay customers at a popular gay bar in Greenwich Village called the Stonewall Inn grew angry at the continual harassment they received from the police. They stood up to the police and a riot soon broke out. Word spread quickly throughout the city about the demonstration, and the original group of customers were soon joined by many other members of the LGBT community. They threw objects at the police while shouting things like "Gay Power!" until police reinforcements arrived and beat the crowd away. The next night, rioters returned to the scene and an even larger demonstration ensued until a riot control squad was sent by the police to disperse the crowd. For days following the riots, various demonstrations took place throughout the city. The Stonewall riots inspired the LGBT community throughout the country to organize in support of their rights, and within 2 years, gay rights groups had been started in almost every major city across the United States.
By the end of the 1960s, the gay rights movement had achieved media visibility, open dialogue in the scientific and religious communities, and a move toward a more recognized and organized movement. But they still suffered from society's hostility against homosexuals and the penalties attached to exposure.
In my opinion, I really believe that gay people should have the right to get married to whoever they really want to. I don't think that the church or the state or really anybody except for said homosexual person should have a say in who homosexual people marry. As a member of the LGBT community myself, I personally believe that I should not have restrictions placed on my love for anybody. I don't feel that it's right for anybody to tell me who I can or cannot love or who I can or cannot marry. So I feel that it's just really wrong for any restrictions such as that to be put into place. I feel very strongly about this, and I think that everybody should have equal rights, whether it's their sexuality, their gender identity, their race.
Like, completely in favor, I guess. I don't really know why there's a reason not to be. It's not something that you really know or like matters when you meet a person. It's not something you judge a person on. It's just like any sort of quality of being, you know? It'd be like judging a person based on like hair color or something like that. It's a part of someone's identity. So I think it's something that it's a bit complicated because there's a lot of religious reasons. I understand why people don't support it, but I don't really see any reason to be against it. And I know a lot of people who I've talked to who are a lot more religious have abstained from that sort of issue, or they make it clear when it comes up, like, they have nothing against it, they just don't want to talk about it because of their own beliefs. But I see no reason that anyone should get in the way of rights for any person, because it's all human beings and it really doesn't affect how good a person is as an individual.
Society's opinion about equal rights for the LGBT community varies from person to person, but the vast majority today, especially the youth, tend to be in favor of equality and tolerance for homosexuals. This is a stark difference when compared to the negative opinions and outrageous fears felt by society in the 1960s. Meanwhile, major victories for the gay rights movement have been few in number since the 1960s, despite growing support. But the Obama administration changed that, beginning in 2009.
Congress passed the Matthew Shepard Act on October 28th, which expands the 1969 U.S. federal hate crime law to include crimes motivated by a victim's actual or perceived gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. This is the first major victory in years.
Just over a year later, the gay rights movement achieves another major victory as the Senate votes 65-31 to repeal the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. This allows gays and lesbians to serve openly in the U.S. military.
And on June 27, 2015, almost 46 years to the day of the Stonewall riots, the United States became the 22nd country to legalize same-sex marriage thanks to a 5-4 ruling in the Supreme Court.
This morning, the Supreme Court recognized that the Constitution guarantees marriage equality. In doing so, they've reaffirmed that all Americans are entitled to the equal protection of the law, that all people should be treated equally, regardless of who they are or who they love.
The LGBT community today is still struggling to gain total equality within the United States. They still face terrible discrimination and hatred. But the attitudes of the United States towards the openly gay have grown to be more positive. One of our country's most beloved and well-known talk show hosts, Ellen DeGeneres, is openly a lesbian. Award-winning actor Neil Patrick Harris married his partner, David Burtka, on September 16, 2015 in Paraguay, Italy.
The LGBT community has even been accepted into government positions, such as U.S. Representatives David Cicilline of Rhode Island and Mark Takano of California. America is changing, and the LGBT community is becoming more and more accepted, especially by youth and politicians. Hopefully soon, major changes will take place as the LGBT community finally becomes fully accepted and equal members of society.